What happens when two of country music's biggest stars clash live on television? When a casual question turns into a storm no one expected. Today we're talking about the tense confrontation between Keith Urban and Kelly Clarkson that left everyone stunned. Make sure to hit subscribe and share your thoughts below because this story is one for the books. The Kelly Clarkson show was supposed to be a normal promo stop for Keith Urban. He came to talk about his new album, share a few behind-the-scenes stories, and connect with Kelly's daytime audience. But what began as a friendly chat took a sharp turn when Kelly asked a question that hit a sensitive spot. "So, Keith, I have to ask you something that's been causing buzz in the industry," she said, leaning forward with her usual bright smile. "There's been talk about authenticity in country music lately. What's your take on artists people say have drifted too far from the genre's roots?" Keith's face changed instantly. The relaxed mood vanished as he tapped his fingers on the chair's armrest. "Well, Kelly, that's quite a question. What are you getting at exactly?" he asked, his tone tight. Kelly pressed on, not noticing how the air in the room had shifted. "I mean, how do you respond to critics who say some artists, maybe even you, have gone too far into pop? There was an article last month that mentioned your latest collaborations and questioned whether your music is still country or has crossed over completely." The once lively studio went quiet as Keith leaned back, staring at her. When he finally spoke, his voice carried an edge. "You know what, Kelly? I find it interesting you'd bring up that article without asking if I wanted to discuss it first. This feels less like an interview and more like an ambush." Kelly's eyes widened. "Keith, that's not what I meant. I just wanted an honest chat about how the genre's evolving. You're one of country's biggest names. I thought you'd want to weigh in." "Weigh in on what?" Keith snapped, his accent sharpening. "On people deciding what kind of music I'm allowed to make? On the idea that success somehow means I've lost authenticity?" The tension was now thick enough to cut. Kelly shifted, clearly thrown off. "Keith, that's not what I'm saying. I think your music's amazing. I just wanted your view on the ongoing discussion." Keith gave a humorless laugh. "Here's my view, Kelly. I've made music for over 20 years, won Grammys, sold millions of records, and stayed true to myself. So, being asked to justify my choices on live TV based on what a critic thinks? Yeah, that's a problem." The crowd stayed silent. Kelly tried to steer things back. "Keith, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I wasn't asking you to defend yourself. I wanted to talk about how country music has changed and get your thoughts." Keith leaned forward. "Let me ask you something, Kelly. When was the last time someone questioned your authenticity as a pop artist? When did someone suggest your success meant you weren't real anymore? I bet that doesn't happen often." He didn't let her answer. "And that's the real issue. Country music is the only genre obsessed with policing its own. We're told what to sound like, how to look, how to stay in our lane. Try to evolve and suddenly you're a sellout." Kelly sighed. "Keith, I get you're frustrated, but I think you're taking this the wrong way. I wasn't attacking you." "Really?" he shot back. "Because it sure feels like it. And it's always the same. Criticizing artists who try something new while others get a free pass." The atmosphere grew even more strained. Kelly straightened in her chair. "You know what, Keith? Maybe the issue isn't the question. Maybe it's how you're reacting to it." Keith's jaw tightened. "So now it's my fault? I'm the problem because I won't play along? That's rich." Kelly's color rose. "Keith, this has gone too far. I never meant for it to get heated." "Oh, I think you did," Keith said sharply. "You came ready with that article, those follow-ups. You wanted a reaction, but I'm not here to play that game." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Kelly took a deep breath. "Keith, I've interviewed hundreds of artists. I ask honest questions, not traps. If I offended you, I'm sorry, but that wasn't my goal." "Intentions don't matter," Keith said coldly. "What matters is what you did. You asked me to justify my art in front of your cameras. Do you know how insulting that is?" Kelly's patience was slipping. "Keith, you're being unfair. I asked a normal question about the industry. Maybe you should think about why you're so defensive." Keith stood up suddenly, and the audience gasped. "Defensive? I've been in this business longer than you've been singing, and I don't need to defend anything, especially not to someone who doesn't understand country music." Kelly's posture stiffened. "Excuse me? I may not be a country artist, but I know good music when I hear it. And what I'm seeing right now is someone so insecure he can't handle a question without exploding." The studio froze. "Insecure?" Keith said quietly. "You want to talk about insecurity? Let's talk about a host who tears down guests to stay relevant. One who practices her questions so she can pretend to be innocent when things go wrong." Kelly stood too. "You're way out of line, Keith Urban. I've never had a guest talk to me like this, and I won't start tolerating it now." "And I've never been humiliated on live TV," Keith snapped. "So I guess we're both breaking new ground." The air was electric. "You know what, Keith? This interview is over," Kelly said, her tone icy. "Take some time to cool off because your reaction says more about you than my question ever could." Keith laughed bitterly. "Perfect. I get invited here, ambushed, then blamed for being upset. You know what? You're right. This interview is over, but not because I need to calm down. It's over because I don't have to sit through this disrespect." "If you feel disrespected," Kelly shot back, "maybe look at how you're acting. You've been rude and unprofessional." "Unprofessional?" Keith echoed. "How about ambushing your guests for drama? How about pretending to be surprised when you get exactly what you wanted?" Kelly shook her head. "Keith, I built my career on respect. I've never brought anyone here to embarrass them. If that's what you believe, that says more about your mindset than mine." "Oh, I'm sure your producers are thrilled," Keith said coldly. "They'll cut this to make it look dramatic. Exactly what you wanted." "That's disgusting," Kelly snapped. "To suggest we planned this for ratings is an insult to me and my entire team." "I think you know how the business works," Keith said. "Controversy sells. Don't act like you didn't know this would push my buttons." "If asking about the state of country music pushes your buttons," Kelly said sharply, "maybe those critics have a point." Keith stepped closer, his voice low. "Don't you dare validate those critics. You have no idea what it's like to be questioned every time you try to grow. And you have no idea what it's like to be attacked for doing your job," Kelly replied. "I've had legends on this show, Dolly, Garth, Carey, and they were all gracious. None of them lost control over a question." Keith laughed bitterly. "Oh, that's perfect. Compare me to others. That's what this industry loves. Who's more authentic? Who's more traditional?" "Maybe it's about who can handle a question professionally," Kelly shot back. "Because right now you're proving those critics right." Keith stared at her, stunned. "What did you just say?" "You're acting like someone who's lost touch with who they used to be," Kelly said quietly. "Like someone who forgot where they came from." "I haven't forgotten," Keith growled. "But you've forgotten how to treat a guest. You turned this into a trial." "Maybe you needed to be challenged," Kelly fired back. "Maybe someone needed to ask what others won't." The silence in the room was suffocating. "There it is," Keith said darkly. "The real Kelly Clarkson, the one who thinks she has to humble people who've made it." "That's not true," Kelly replied. "But I do think artists should be able to talk about their work without falling apart." "Adults don't ambush each other," Keith said, raising his voice. "Adults don't create drama for ratings. And adults don't storm off when asked a question," Kelly countered. Keith stepped back, shaking his head. "This is about you wanting a moment for your show. You thought I'd be easy to push." "That's ridiculous," Kelly said firmly. "You turned this into chaos because you couldn't handle it." "So that's the story you'll tell?" Keith asked. "That I couldn't handle a simple question? I'll tell the truth," Kelly said. "That you attacked me for doing my job." Keith looked at her one last time, his anger fading into disappointment. "You're right about one thing," he said quietly. "This conversation is over." He turned to leave, and Kelly called after him. "Walking away won't fix anything, Keith." He stopped and looked back. "I'm not walking away to look better. I'm walking away to keep my dignity. I thought you understood artists. I was wrong." "You weren't ambushed," Kelly said softly. "You were interviewed. There's a difference." Keith shook his head. "This was never about ego, Kelly. It was about respect, and you failed both." With that, he walked off the stage, leaving Kelly standing in silence as the audience watched, stunned. After a long pause, she spoke quietly. "Well, I guess that's a wrap for today's interview with Keith Urban. We'll be right back after this break. The cameras cut, but the damage was done. The air was heavy, and everyone in the room knew it. This wasn't just the end of an interview. It was the end of any friendship or trust between them, burned away in front of millions.